Okay, this is part 4 of the simple title screen tutorial. In this one we're going to add our insert coin sprite and the press start sprite. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we load the sample texture in Fireworks. So open your graphics folder from Solution Explorer, right click on sample texture and say open with. Okay, now if you haven't got Fireworks on there, you need to go add, just click the little ellipse, go to Adobe, go to Fireworks and find fireworks.exe. Okay, I've already got it, so I'm just going to double click and there you go, it's loaded it up for me. So this is the graphic you've already got. It's got insert coin and press start. If you think they're naff, fine, not really that bothered. Okay, it's for illustrative purposes. If you've got your own graphic, then you can use them. So this is what mine look like. Pretty lame. Okay, so we need that open. We'll come back to that. Okay, we're going to show these two sprites from the title mode, but to create a sprite, what we actually do is create subroutines. So we're going to go to Solution Explorer and we're going to open title mode. Okay, then we're going to create two sprites. So if you scroll down in title mode, you'll see that we've already got the sample one there. So we're going to create after that code, so after the brace, so that is the subroutine for the title mode, we need to create another subroutine. So we're going to say void, and I'm going to say call it insert coin for the first one. Right, after I've put the two parentheses, I then put an opening brace, left hand brace, and then on the next line down I do that, put a closing brace. Then I can enter blank lines. It's important that things go before and between the braces. Okay, don't start putting code down here. Okay, there are these two final braces that we always must put our code before. So I'm actually going to put a comment there and I'm going to say all code before this, just to remind me. Okay, so I don't ever try and put any code after it. Okay, create a sprite, quite simple. First thing, we just say sprite, and we tend to always call them S, and then we can copy and paste technical bits of code between different sprites. New sprite, that creates the sprite. Then we add it to the engine manager, say engine manager.add sprite S. What that does is tells the engine manager to start updating it and displaying it, so we don't have to do any more work with it. We just need to set it up now. So the first thing we do is need to define the frame for the sprite. So where is its texture? Now these insert coin and the press start graphics are on that sample texture. Okay, so we can say s.frame, that's how we define one, define, and the texture it's coming from is graphics.txsample. Okay, for this example. The next thing we do is say where on that texture, what rectangle do we want? Okay, so we're going to have to go back to Fireworks and find out where it is. Now, because these are text, I can easily just select it and I will get down at the bottom the width and height. Let's just jig about with this because it's going funny on me. Right, the width and height. So if you look down at the properties, down at the bottom here, I've got X, Y, width, height. That is the dimensions of the rectangle, okay, that I want. So my X is 139, my Y is 179. So I'm going to flip back to Visual Studio and I'm going to say new rectangle. Forgotten already, so I'm going to go back to Fireworks, 139, 179, 139, 179, and the width was 221 and the height was 34. So I'm going to say 221, 34. That defines the rectangle, that finishes defining the frame of graphic. Okay, now I want to display this and I'm going to put it right in the middle of the screen, I think. So I'm going to set the alignment for the sprite to be align.center
So s.align equals line.center. So its position, I want it to be the center of the screen. So I can say s.x, and that's the x position of the sprite, equals screen size dot center dot x. Capitals for the x's. And I can do the same with the y. See, it's handy having that screen size value set because we use that quite a lot instead of having to work it out by hand a lot. Okay. So that creates the sprite. It doesn't show it on the screen, it just creates the sprite. In order to show it, we need to run the insert coin subroutine. Okay, so in our title screen, we should show insert coin if there are no credits. Now what you've got to remember, the first time your game loads, there will be no credits. But you might play a game and someone might put 20 credits in. So when we come back to the title screen, we don't actually want to be saying insert credit, because that would be daft, because I've got credits in there. Alright, so what we're going to do, in start title, we're going to say, and just make sure it's on a blank line within here, if credits equals 0, then we're going to show insert coin. Okay, so if we run that, assuming we've got the rectangle right, so I'm pressing F5, we should have insert coin on screen. Eventually it'll run. There you go. Bit boring. I want it to flash. So I'm going to quit and I'm going to go back to insert coin. Now a quick way of doing it from here is to right click and say go to definition. We could have scrolled down. We haven't got much code yet. Right, in order to make it flash, I need to activate the timer system. So timer.initialize. And then say s.timer, always do that, s.timer, and we want it to flash continuous. Okay, and the parameters for this is how long we want it to stay on screen. So I'm going to have it on screen for a second, but off screen for a quarter of a second. I have to put F when I'm dealing with fractions. Okay, think of it as fraction. So if you've got any decimal value, you put an F. Right, let's run that and see what the difference is. And it's chugging away. There you go. So it's on screen longer than it's off. Right, let's create the press start one in a similar way. It's going to be at the same position on the screen. The only thing that's going to be different to this insert coin one is this line, the rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste all that code into there. And then change this name to press start. Okay, so I need to find, so I'm just going to do exactly the same. I need to find this rectangle. So go back to fireworks, over press start, look at the numbers. This time it's 124,233. So 124,233. And the width was 251, slightly longer text. And the height was the same, 34. Okay, so that's created quickly a press start sprite that's going to flash. Okay, so that's quite handy. Now, we want press start to appear if we've got more than one credit when we start the title screen. So we can say here, if credits equals 0, show insert coin, else run the press start subroutine. Okay, so let's just run it again. So it should show insert coin. So F5 to run it. Chugga chugga chugga. Coming up. Okay, so insert coin. Let's quit it. Let's change our credits. Remember that was in general logic at the top. Let's just set the credits to 5. Run it again. Chugga chugga. Says press start. Because the credits wasn't no. Right, change that credits back to no. Now, let's have a think. When we input our text, our number of credits, okay, we actually want insert credit to get lost, don't we? So what we can do, if we go back to title mode and we set some type information up, so in insert coin I'm going to say at the bottom s.type equals sprite
type, capital S, capital T, and I'm going to, there is one called insert coin. For the press start, I'm going to do the same, but obviously I'm not going to put insert coin because it's not that. So I'm going to say s.type equals sprite type dot press start. Okay, sprite types are something that you can add extras to. Just ask me and I'll show you how it's dead easy. Right, so that sets up a type for our sprites. We can now use that in our input code. So when we add a credit, what we can ask the engine to do, as well as add one to the credit, we can say to the engine, remove the first sprite of type, oops, and we say sprite type dot insert coin. Okay, that will get rid of it. So let's just check that works. So we've in title mode for the press start we gave it a type press start, and insert coin was insert coin type. In the input code we said, hey engine, get rid of. If it isn't on the screen, it doesn't matter, the engine will say, couldn't find it, fair enough. Let's run it, just check that works. So when we press our key now, when we press 5, insert coin's gone because we've got credits. We want press start to appear on screen. Okay, so what we also need to do is check, say if press start isn't there on screen yet, let's show it. But if we keep adding credits and we keep saying press start, press start, press start, we'll add loads and loads and loads of the same sprite, so we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to say to the engine, get the first sprite of a type press start. I'm going to say if that isn't equal to null, because if it doesn't exist, when we whack the microphone there, if it doesn't exist, any sprite of type press start, it will be null the value. So we're saying if it's not null, then what we're going to do is show press start. Okay, that's what we're doing. I'll put braces around that just so you know it's part of that. So let's just look at this code. We press the 5 key, credits goes up by 1, try and remove the insert coin graphic if it's there, checks to see if the press start graphic's there. If it isn't, show it. Okay, let's run it and see what happens. Quite a complicated bit of code we've done there, but you'll see things like that time and time again when you start writing your code. So insert coin's there, add a credit, didn't work. Interesting. Right, made a simple mistake. Let's look at the if. I've said if it's not equal to null, but it is null. If it's not on screen, it should be null. So I should have said equals equals, which means is it equal to. Okay, always easy to make mistakes like that when you're doing ifs and you're deciding whether the logic's positive or negative. So what we're saying is, if you can't find it, show it, which is what I should have had in the first place. So let's run that again. Equals equals just means equal in C#. Hopefully it will not be an embarrassing pause. So press 5, hey, press start's come on. Carry on adding credits, and it just sits there flashing. Okay, end of vid.